My name is Chancom Finch, and this is my informative speech on language and communication, with three main topics of language is easy to understand, language is moldable, and proper use enhances communication. In language, or in communication, there are various ways to communicate. Some are by force, and some without words. But the most effective and important way of communicating is with language. Communication is extremely complex. It is achieved through extremely diverse ways. Language is a fundamental building block of communication. If one block is removed, the wall will topple. It is easy to be confused by language's diverse concepts and applications. So today I'm going to break down language as fundamentals and how to better understand and apply it in our lives. The book Understanding Human Communication by Ronald B. Alder and other authors has helped me to understand language, along with the book 1,000 Words You Need to Know and How to Apply Them. I've also taken several college courses on language to help me understand it in better depth. The English language has many words that originate from Latin roots. According to various sources, including Dictionary.com, History HIT, and the Truman University, states that 60% of English language comes from Latin or Greek. A general understanding of Latin roots, especially ones commonly used in English, heightens the ability to choose the proper words or ability to perceive the meaning of a word brought into a conversation. The word retrospect, for example, can be considered confusing, but when we break it down to its roots, we see retro and spect. Retro is a Latin prefix meaning backward, and spect comes from the word specere, to look. Now, while understanding the Latin root word and its meaning can be hard and takes memorization, seeing connections in other words can help us understand. Like we see spect and spectacle, spectate and inspect. And through that understanding of those words, we can come to the conclusion that it means to look. And so when we bring that back together, we understand that retrospect means to look backwards in the past. And when it comes to context of communication, we can understand what it means better. While it's great to know the root words, it can be hard to learn all the ones used in the English language. So that is why it is very important to recognize connections in the words that are brought into communication. If there's a word you don't understand, think about other words and how we can connect those, and it'll help us not only utilize and increase our vocabulary through this process, but also understand others better. For another example, circumvent. That's a pretty confusing word. When we break it down, we see circum and vent. Vent is a very used word. We understand it pretty well. And it's Latin root ventus, meaning wind or movement. Circum, we see in words like circumference, circumnavigate, and we can see connections through circles. So with context of a sentence or communication, we can put that together to understand movement around or about something. Or in this case, to move or find a way around or prevent something from happening. Understanding this process and utilizing it not only increases our ability to understand new words, but it also deepens our connection and understanding for the words and builds our vocabulary. Everyone has a different vocabulary, and understanding of language, whether it's because of the area in which they were raised or how they were taught. Better understanding language at its roots not only enhances our understanding, but it gives us the opportunity to mold our speech to fit others' understanding. As we repeatedly mold our language to fit those we interact with, we not only increase our understanding but improve ability to modify our speech to others. Modifying speech can be as complex as using jargon and terms specific to a specific group or area, and as simple as using common words in a public setting and and advanced vocabulary in work or school setting. This can also be achieved through vocabulary specific to a generation or age group. For example, when talking to an elderly person, we tend to use jargon or wording that is common to their time frame in which they have lived. And it makes the conversations smoother and work better. We also see this more commonly in children. The way we talk to them, we use simpler words that they can understand. We also see this based on our biological relationship. The way we commune with our parents will be different than we do with our peers. And is seen probably the most in our emotional status or connection with someone. Someone we are very close to, we're going to have less concern on how we speak and will be more filled with emotion. Someone we are only formally known with are going to be more formal in speech and keep emotions to a minimum or hidden. While we already do this naturally on certain extents, rather than let it run wild, it is important that we take control of how we speak and how we change to others and control this habit to utilize it to its fullest extent. As social beings, we change our vocabulary to match others, as said. While this has the potential to lower our vocabulary, it has the potential for us to grow it. So instead of simply conforming to one's vocabulary, we can use words that are likely to understand without losing our defining factor ourselves. How we speak, the way we talk, and how we respond in communication. Instead of analyzing how someone speaks and then conforming to their style, we should analyze their speech to understand their vocabulary and then communicate with a vocabulary similar that they can understand. The enhancing of communication doesn't stop there though. Regardless of one's understanding, building vocabulary is more than just understanding more words, but also understanding them on a deeper level. Instead of only knowing what a word means and how to use it, learn why the word means what it does. For example, the word stress is used a lot in contemporary English and is understood well. But when we take a look at the Latin root, we see the word strictus, which means tight or compressed. And we can relate that feeling of stress to this definition very well. This increases our understanding and connection with this word. And that is how we deepen our vocabulary. While having a large vocabulary is important for knowing a plethora of words, it is only effective in enhancing communication when it is used precisely. An article from Harvard states that it is essential to be clear and concise. We achieve this through the principle that less is more. Instead of flooding others with a barrage of words, being precise and meaningful with our words, with our speech, is much more effective than the indiscriminate use of potentially related words. In conclusion, it is important to remember that language is a complex tool to be harnessed to improve our communication with others. It is important to properly utilize a high vocabulary to help others avoid a misunderstanding and better understand people with vocabularies at different levels of communication. A deeper understanding of language not only improves communication and understanding, but also increases the benefit we receive from communication and reading. As we come to understand language better, we can come to a higher and more effective way of communication. Any questions? Thank you. I have links to everything you can all look at if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.